Ever been on an 18-day cruise through the Pacific Ocean in a cyclone? I have.
I've been fortunate to have been on dozens of cruises in my life. I've been on small ships, big ships, mega ships, sailing ships through the Mediterranean, Middle East, Alaska, Mexico, the whole works. In all those years, there's only been one night that I was genuinely concerned. So this 18-day cruise was from Honolulu to Brisbane, Australia. There were 3 stops along the way in French Polynesia, as well as 1 stop in Vanuatu. Unfortunately, due to some weather issues along the way, we ended up spending an unexpected 10 nights at sea. The ship was Starlink enabled, so with my flexible schedule, I was able to work remotely on board the ship during the weekdays. This meant I wasn't always able to get off at port depending on the schedule, but was still able to enjoy the evenings on board the ship. We arrived in the morning at our last port in Tahiti. This was Raiatea. Now this is a beautiful, picturesque island that I was looking forward to getting off and engaging with the local vendors. By the time we arrived at the port, with the swell coming in, we weren't able to tender ashore, so we had to abandon Raiatea and continue on for the next leg to Vanuatu. We had 6 glorious sea days ahead of us before arriving into Vanuatu. During these 6 days, there was a storm that was developing that was headed towards Vanuatu along the way, but wasn't supposed to make any significant impact to us. This is October, and cyclone season for the South Pacific doesn't start until November. So everyone assumed we were in the clear. As the days progress and we inch closer to Vanuatu, it's now apparent that this storm is now turning into a full-blown cyclone. Now this is unheard of because there's only been one other storm in history that has turned into a cyclone before the season starts in November. This cyclone, Cyclone Lola, is now a raging Category 5 cyclone that's headed straight for Vanuatu the day before we're supposed to arrive. Now it's clear we're not going to stop in Port Vila. This is right in the center of where everything's happening. So the decision was made the day before that we were going to alter course, head further south, and reach Mystery Island, Vanuatu. Now I wake up early the next morning. I am ready to get off at Vanuatu. I have now been on this ship for 7 days and I'm ready to get off, see a little bit outside of the ship. As we approach Mystery Island in Vanuatu, we can see it coming up on the horizon. We're getting closer. We're probably 5 to 7 miles off ashore. There's a light rain, some clouds in the area. It doesn't look too bad. It looks really promising. So we make one approach into Mystery Island and we come around and we do a second approach into Mystery Island. And as the second time around, we see it start drifting away. Bye-bye. So we knew at that point that Mystery Island was a no-go. Shortly after, the captain came on and let us all know the news. There would be no stopping in Mystery Island today, no more stops along the way, and we are going to continue on to Brisbane. This was met by a little disappointment, as it's already been 7-8 days on board the ship, and we're ready to get off. And I'll be honest, by that point, the salads and the fruits weren't looking so hot at the buffets. That night, there was nothing significant going on with the weather. I think we had some rain, some clouds, but nothing out of the ordinary. Our last full sea day is here, and we are headed to Brisbane tomorrow. Everyone's looking forward to getting off the ship, being in Australia, being home for a lot of people, being in a new country for a lot of people. So this was definitely, spirits were high. That evening was the final supper. Now, for those of you who've been cruising, typically the final dinner includes something a little higher end. So a lot of times the surf and turf or the lobster, as well as celebration from the crew on board. Usually they come and do a dance number and thanking you for being a part of the dining experience. We finished dinner. I don't even remember what it was, but Everyone was just relaxing on the ship, doing their final walkthroughs. This is our last opportunity, to really, really enjoy the ship. Now, I'm no stranger to the sea or sailing. I've spent a good portion of my life in, on, and around the oceans. So I've seen a lot of storms out there. I've seen a lot of things happen. But I knew the second that those doors were struggling to open and I could hear the howling coming through and the rattling of the doors, I knew we were up for something. As soon as I was able to squeeze through the doors and get out on the open deck, I was hit with probably 50 to 55 knot winds coming straight starboard to us. I knew this was a squall that had just popped up that was pretty unexpected because there was nothing prepared outside. None of the chairs were strapped down, none of the pools were covered or drained, so this kind of came at a surprise by the crew. Walking outside, I knew that it was not safe for anyone to be out here. I was not feeling safe, and it wasn't the wind that was scaring me, it's all the projectiles. It's all of everything that's not secured outside. The crew was not prepared for this. It kind of just came out all of a sudden without warning, and everyone was trying to figure out what to do. As I'm fighting to walk across the deck, because it's hard. You've got this wind coming directly at your side, pushing you one direction. The boat's rocking a little bit, and you're trying to maintain your balance. By the time I get to the other side, I see the crew start coming out. Everyone starts getting into a panic because they're trying to figure out what's the most important thing to tie down right now. Once I get to the other side, there's kind of crowds that have started forming in these little atrium areas, kind of looking out and trying to figure out what the heck is going on. All these crews, it was all hands on deck. Everybody was out there. Everybody was just working to grab anything and everything and bring it to the side so it could be tied off or brought inside. Now, 50 knot winds for a ship of that size is not out of the ordinary. It's not something to be overly concerned about, right? They are built and designed for much worse than this. It is a little unsettling for a lot of people, though. This is probably the worst storm that a lot of people have been through and been outside and exposed to. Over the next hour or two, the winds intensified even more. The captain had called for everyone to return to their staterooms. All of the shops on board were closed. All of the shows going on were canceled. And everyone was kind of just in disbelief here. What am I supposed to do? At this point, there was a couple of windows on deck, like 14 or right at the top around the pool area, that had actually blown in and off their track and shattered on the outside area there. I had never seen so many people out and about getting seasick everywhere. There were people that were just laying out on the couches, the chairs, and all the public areas, and everyone was just vomiting everywhere. It was really unsettling. But we had been rolling back and forth significantly for several hours now, and it didn't seem to be letting up at all. After checking on things in the stateroom, I wanted to turn on the map on the TV to see the actual winds outside. And at one point, it grew from like 62 knots coming at us on our starboard side up to like 82. And then the highest that I saw myself on the TV was 87. But it did end up peaking, I think, at 92 knots, which is over 100 miles an hour coming just smack dab down the side of the ship. That's a lot of wind. So this was a Category 2 cyclone, and what had happened was that Lola had made her way over Vanuatu and started to break apart, and this was the remnants of the storm, and there was nothing we could do about it. It had changed course, and we were headed, 20 knots straight towards Brisbane, and there was no getting around it. We were going through it. So this was a Category 2 hurricane, a cyclone that we were going through that just clobbered us for sure. Fortunately for me, I wasn't affected by seasickness, so it was ultimately a good night's sleep for me. I went right to bed. The room was cold and just rocked myself to bed. So I didn't remember much after that, but I do remember waking up in the morning and looking out over the balcony and just seeing the side of the ship. There were a lot of those dividers that divide the balconies on the outer cabins, that were either missing, that had been blown off, or they were partially ripped off and just hanging there, just like a kind of like a loose tooth, just hanging on one little thread. So it was crazy. A lot of the windows on deck 14 up at the pool deck were blown off, and everybody was just in shock, like, what the hell just happened? The following morning, we get to Brisbane, and it is the most beautiful sunrise, the most peaceful seas, and we are just cruising right into port. Not even a ripple out there. So what an absolute difference an evening makes. Getting off the ship in Brisbane, customs takes probably an hour to get through, just with everyone processing. This is the first ship of the season, so it was just absolutely incredible, just hearing all the war stories, that we all shared in this common event. Just listening to everyone talk about it, everyone calling their loved ones, talking about it, and it was just amazing just to hear every little trial and tribulation that everyone went through the night before. So it was definitely not an experience that I'll forget. People do ask, does that put you off with cruising, or are you worried about it? And it's not, no, not at all. The ships today, they are meant to withstand that in so much more that we could never even imagine going through. If anything, it reminds me of something that all sailors will learn, and that is the ocean will always win. All you can do is respect her.